So, welcome everyone from my side as well. And obviously, because it is the 2nd of January today, also a Happy New Year to all of you. So, the people in the room are aware, but the people who are listening on the recording not. It was a bit of a crazy day, or Bob would even say a crazy week, because even last week he told me, "Oh, I can't come because my car broke down, so you'll have to find another ride to get here to Roleystone next week." So he was able to fix his car. But he was helping my abbot, Ajahn Santuti, who teaches here as well, to go and do a little bit of shopping, and then that car broke down. So we were like, okay, how's that going to work? And we had a guest, Purya, staying with us, and he offered to pick them up and to drive me tonight, so that was all good. And as I was starting to get ready to come up here, I was like, where is the key? So it was really a bit crazy, but we managed to get here, and I'm happy that you have the time to meditate with me now tonight. So what we usually do is we give a little bit of introduction, and then we meditate together for roughly about half an hour, something like that, and then in the end we have more time to do a bit more sharing or questions and answers. Ariel has also mentioned I just came back from a pilgrimage to India, and I was due to teach last week, but I was very, very happy that one of the other monks, Ajahn Chittapalo, was able to teach, because last week I was pretty out of it. The pilgrimage was great, it was very inspirational, but just the traveling around and the bad air and everything just got me when I got back home. So I came home for, 2 or 3 days. I was kind of okay. And then I started having a cough and started sleeping a lot. And I really just kind of had to recover. And then usually I also think of something to come and present here to you tonight. But this time I didn't really have time. I mean, I probably would have had time, but I just decided, rather than try and get my brain all kind of worked up with what I could be saying, I just felt it's much nicer if I can have a quiet day today and just actually allow inspiration to arise. And that's kind of the word that came to me for tonight as well. So I thought I could maybe share a few things about inspiration, because inspiration is a very, very important energy. During, last year maybe, or during the day today, or during the last week, whatever it might have been, you might have experienced something similar to myself, where you kind of just feel flat, or where your body and your mind is not very workable and not very ready and not very happy to just kind of jump and do stuff. And then you really need to activate it somehow. You need to somehow bring that inspiration up. But unfortunately, inspiration is not something you can just, go on YouTube and find something inspirational and then just go like, yeah, and now I have the energy that I need. I mean, it might work. I'm not saying it's completely out of... But inspiration is an energy that needs the right causes and conditions as well. And very often what we realize, it arises when we expect it the least. When we actually just create some space and just kind of, let go into what is happening right now. And let our minds and our hearts be open to whatever is out there. And then something will come along. And sometimes it's, the tiny little things that you wouldn't have expected or that are not that special really, but somehow it just gets you. Somehow it just starts to kindle that energy in your heart. And then you realize, oh wow, I actually have some energy now. Rather than trying to get rid of stuff or trying to really go and look for some books or whatever it is. So one story that came to my mind as I was just sitting quietly that really inspired me last year, going back, because, last year is still pretty close, is one thing which happened to me over at Kusala Hermitage. And we do a little bit of work over there as well. And one of the things that we have been doing recently is we are right at I think it's the Canning River, if I'm not wrong. So the Canning River is one boundary of our monastery. And over the years, before we came there, the Brazilian pepper trees have really taken over. And they have just drowned out all the light, and basically it was just so thick the kangaroos couldn't really come down and drink. And so the other monastics decided at some stage, okay, we try to clear that area from that Brazilian pepper tree, so we have lots of space for new growth to kind of come through. So that's what we were doing just a couple of days before I was leaving to go to India. And I was out there, with my work gear on, and I realized at some stage when I was looking down at my sock that there was a big bull ant sitting on my sock. And yes, I've seen them from a distance, and they usually look fairly fierce. They kind of turn around and kind of look at you and go like, whoa. They are very territorial. So when I saw that bull ant on my sock, I kind of freaked out. And I started doing a little dance and I had some gloves on, so I was trying to kind of brush it off. And I did that little dance for, I don't know, half a minute or something. And I couldn't feel any bites or any stings, so I was like, oh, that's close. And I couldn't see the bull ant anywhere. And so I was like, okay, that was a lucky one. Even though I've been living in Australia now for almost 15 years, or it will be 15 years this year, I've never been bitten or stung by a bull ant. Many other monastics have, or people I know, and they told me how unpleasant that experience is. So I was like, oh, wow, that's lucky. So I carried on working for another half an hour, and because we were getting towards the end of the day, we finished off, and I walked up to our main building and started taking off my shoes. And as I took off my shoe, the bull ant was in my shoe. Wow. I was like, what the heck? I mean, I couldn't believe it. I don't even know how it got into the shoe without me squashing it by just, walking around, and how it could be so friendly to not attack me or whatever. I was just completely stunned, and really inspired. I just kind of ran down to the workshop and told everyone else what happened, and then I went back up again, and it was still, walking around inside my shoes. I kind of put it on a little dustpan, and I had so much gratitude to this little being. I mean, of course it's much, much smaller than me, and probably I could really, hurt it, even though I don't want that. But I just felt so grateful that it didn't harm me, that it didn't do me any, damage, really. So I put it on the dustpan, and I was carrying it down the hill to try and be kind to it in return, So that's usually what happens when you are inspired by something. It inspires you to do something, to become active, or to have that kind of energy that starts flowing, encouraged, even amplified, and then somehow kind of shared. And even though it was this tiny little, bull ant creature that I've never thought I would have a story to tell you about, it did really inspire me. The story, unfortunately, didn't end as I wished, because as I was carefully, bringing it down to the workshop and showing it to everyone. Look, this is my friendly bull ant. Then I went a little bit further, and it was closer to where I picked it up on my sock, but I did lose it, and I just couldn't find it anymore. So I hope it found its way home to its burrow where it came from. Anyway, so that was one kind of story to inspire me. That is really just kind of like a silly story, but it doesn't really matter, doesn't it? Once you are starting to get that kind of energy up, then that is something really, really important. And as I was remembering that story, I was remembering the last time I got inspired after coming back. I was still a bit weak, as I was telling you, and a bit sick, and we usually have a Zoom meeting every last Saturday of the month with the Relax and Grow community that Bhante Chunda and myself kind of run. And we should have had that meeting. And again, this time, it was actually my mistake. It wasn't someone else who didn't bring the key. I completely forgot. But luckily, I saw my messages and I saw people asking, is something wrong with Zoom? And I was like, no, I don't think there's anything wrong with Zoom. There's something wrong with the host on Zoom. So that was me. So I came into that meeting kind of apologetic and a bit exhausted because I still kind of felt probably a bit feverish as well from what I was going through. And then we talked about Christmas. Because that was just what was happening around that time. And I was trying to kind of encourage people and inspire people a little bit. And as I was talking to them, I realized that I actually started to inspire myself as I was talking to them. So that was quite beautiful. And I could kind of flow with that energy. And after that meeting, I really felt energized. I really felt happy. I really felt good within my own heart. So if we can kind of connect to these things. And maybe I'm also going to share what I talked about, because Christmas is usually the time where we, give gifts, and it's a beautiful time and it's wonderful. But I also realize that very often during that time we get really stressed out because we think we have to make presents to people, and we want to make good presents to people, and we want to make presents to all the people. And what I was just talking about is what I usually do around this time of the year, and which I didn't have time for that year before I started talking to those people, is to remember with gratitude what has happened for the rest of that year. And that usually gives me a lot of inspiration, and it gives me a lot of energy, a lot of gratitude energy. And that is something that is inspiring, calming and soothing for one's own heart, but it's something which has a ripple effect on other people as well. So when I usually talk about gratitude, I talk about first recognizing that there are things that have happened, and that's sometimes what we forget. So even though it's the new year already, I still invite you to go back with your mind back into the old year and mine those good things out of that year. See it as a mine of inspiration, rather than a mine of everything which went wrong, which should have gone different, or why haven't people done this or that. So just linger there for a little while and try to see if there is some things that have been inspiring in the last year for yourself. People that have been there, situations that you've been in, things that you could do, things that you could share that were maybe inspiring for other people, that were helpful for other people. So that's the appreciation part, and the part of letting that gratitude fill your own heart and energize your own heart as well. But then I encourage the people in that group as well to practice thankfulness. And thankfulness for me is like the third step in this kind of gratitude way of cultivating and practicing, is to actually share that goodness, to actually share that inspiration with some of those people. And that's what I encouraged the people in that Zoom meeting to do. So as you are wishing people a happy new year, maybe you can still put some of those things that you might recall now, that you might remember now, and say thank you to them for that. Say thank you that they have been there for you in that year. Thank you that they have supported you. Thank you that they, just were there or were an inspiration for you even in that year as well. And what that does is it makes it clear in your mind what is actually important, what is actually wholesome, what is powerful, what sustains you, what drives you. And that is what we want to bring with us into the new year as well. I know this period of the new year is usually the time where people have New Year's resolutions and where they think about what went wrong, what they don't want to repeat, what they want to kind of stamp out of their lives. And I think it's so much more helpful, so much more wholesome to think of the positive things, to think of the things that have inspired you, and to try to bring that energy back into your life. Having said that, of course, there is things in the past year that have happened that were difficult, that were maybe even traumatizing, that might have been, disappointing or whatever it might have been. But I think the best response we can have is to accept that that is part of the last year, that is part of my day today, of having cars break down and not having to find keys and things like that as well. But it has turned out okay, hasn't it? Overall, we somehow managed to learn from it. We somehow managed to put it down. We somehow managed to forgive for those kind of things. And that's the other kind of aspect that came to mind for me. Whenever I think of the past year, gratitude first of all, thankfulness, inspiration, very, very important. And then open up the space as well to forgive, to acknowledge that there have been difficult parts, to acknowledge that there have been, people that have been irritating, or stuff that I have done or you have done to other people or to yourself that weren't, as you have wished for. But we want to make sure we don't create more bad and negative energy around that. We want to make sure that we have that inspiration, have that calm and clear mind to look back and to say, okay, there were certain causes and conditions who have led to those kind of things that were unpleasant, or that we want to forgive other people for, or that they have to forgive us for whatever they have done. But it doesn't make it as personal as those kind of ruminating mind states very often make it, where we start blaming, where we start shaming, where we start getting down on other people, or where we start getting down on ourselves. So we try to see it as behaviors. And behaviors always happen because of causes and conditions within our own hearts, within the hearts of other people, within the surroundings that we are in. And when we start to understand these causes and conditions and understand why people behave in certain ways, why we behave in certain ways, why we lose our inspiration at times, why we get caught up in negative mind states, why we get this kind of low energy states at times, then we can try to create other causes in the future that will move us out of that space, that will move us towards other habits, more wholesome habits, more skillful habits, more helpful habits. But I don't want to linger on that too much and stay with the positive part that I mentioned in the beginning, with the inspiration, and see if that is actually enough to propel us, to guide us, to sustain us through the next year. And then if there are difficult situations that arise, maybe just one kind of piece of advice: there is always a lot of people around us. There is always a lot of inspiring energies around us that can help us to kind of get out of those headspaces that we sometimes get ourselves in. And one thing that sometimes stops us is, again, old habits, or is pride. We don't want to acknowledge that there is certain things, or we don't want to see certain things. And I hope that this year we have enough courage to actually see, but to also understand. Because understanding is what will, in the end, give us the tools and give us the power to break those things, to understand those things, to walk through those things. Because if we don't understand, then these things have power over us. If we have an understanding of what's going on, even though it might be difficult or it might be not what we would like, then we can gather the resources that are necessary. We can gather the inspiration, we can gather, the energy of other people. Sometimes we have to borrow energy, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So whenever you have excess energy, please share it so others can borrow from you. And if you don't feel embarrassed, don't feel that you're not good enough or whatever. Take some energy from the outside. And that's maybe one thing that just comes to mind now for me. We were traveling in India with 61 people. And we were taking turns being sick. We were taking turns being irritated with stuff. Because, if you're traveling in a group, you probably know from families and workplaces, and then you're stuck in 2 buses for almost 3 weeks together. It's unavoidable that these kind of things arise. But we somehow managed to always inspire each other, to always uplift each other, to always kind of pull through those kind of things. And I'm very, very grateful, obviously, for the people in the group, for the teachings that we had, and for the person who has organized it as well. She's been doing these tours for over 25 years. And she has a lot of experience. But even though you have a lot of experience, India is an environment that just can't be controlled, or much, much less so than what we expect in our world. But I just had a lesson, and we just all had a lesson today, how much even the world here can't be controlled. But again, there were people to help, there were ways and means to get through it, and we are here together now. And listening to me talking about inspiration. Anyway, I hope there was something inspiring for you in there as well. I hope you could remember some things from your last year. And now is the time to meditate together and gain a bit of inspiration from being kind to our bodies and our minds, and being thankful to them as well, and allowing just peace and stillness to be there. And then maybe some other form of inspiration might arise for you as well. Okay, so please make yourself comfortable, have a sip of water before we start. Or do you have any questions for what I've said so far? No, we have some people who are new. Have they meditated before? Yes. I see nods everywhere. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Okay. Good. So as we settle into the more quiet part of tonight's session, I invite you to close your eyes. And to bring your body into a comfortable position. And to invite your mind to unwind. If something I said has triggered some inspiration, great, please keep that. Or if you have thought of something from the past year that sustained you, that inspired you, that gave you energy, please take it with you into this meditation. Not with any expectation that you can kind of milk it and make it better or make it deeper, but just inviting it to come along, to be there in the background when you're allowing your body and allowing your mind to come to a restful state, to a state of ease, to a state of peacefulness. And in the beginning of the meditation, we always spend a bit of time settling our bodies. And one way of allowing the body to settle, allowing it to be at ease and at peace, is to bring up some appreciation for it in your mind. This body has taken you through your whole life so far. It's taken you through the last year. And it will take you into this new year as well. It's probably not the best body. It's probably not the youngest body anymore. But my goodness, even if it breaks down every now and then, like cars do, it's still our vehicle. It's our vehicle in this life that has taken us from being a child into adolescence and into where we are today. Through health and excitement, through inspiration, through sickness, through accidents, through trials and tribulations. But it's still there. Still going. Meditation is a time to say thank you to the body. Meditation is a time to appreciate the body. Meditation is a time to ask, dear body, what can I do for you? How can I repay you? The body is actually very humble. It usually doesn't ask, unless it is just really exhausted. But most of the time, it's just like this lovely, loyal dog who just wishes to make their owner happy in whatever way is possible. Even if it's sometimes neglected a bit, not looked after or fed as well as it should be, its loyalty is still there. Trying to support life, trying to help its owner, the mind. Let's not put more pressure on it than is absolutely necessary. Let's see if we can just care for this body. And going into this new year together, to give it a bit more space. Give it a bit more nourishment. Give it a bit more peace and downtime. It will appreciate it. It will wag its tail like an excited dog does. And it'll give you a little bit more energy, a little bit more peace, a little bit more ease. Sometimes this body of ours must be scratching its head, thinking, why is he, why is she running around so much? Is it really worth it? Isn't there so much to enjoy already without chasing? Without improving? Every time I get sick, I'm amazed how this body deals with so much. And recovers. Maybe not fully, but man, it bounces back. So let us take some inspiration from this body of ours, from its resilience, from its flexibility, from its way to adapt and recuperate, rebalance. And carry on somehow. And allow your body to carry on settling, carry on relaxing, carry on re-energizing. And then we can turn to our minds. To our brains. And have some gratitude towards that part of us. How we make sense of the world. How we can remember stuff. How we can use the mind and the brain to learn, to connect, to communicate, to gain perspective. Thank you, mind, for being there. In the morning, during the day, and at night. And again, how hard are we on our minds sometimes? How demanding. Rather than appreciating its beauty, its power, its strength. And in meditation, it's a good time as well to say thank you to our minds, appreciate them, and then to give them space, give them a rest. And give them the right environment. A positive, understanding and caring worldview. Peace and quiet and trust. So that the mind can do its job as well as possible, without too many obstacles. Without physical substances that cloud it, or without negative mind states that zap its energy, that confuse its clarity. Through this little bit of guidance and this quiet space, I hope that you can feel the effect that has on your body, that effect that has on your mind. An energizing effect, a healing effect. And now is hopefully a good time to invite your awareness to be with your breathing. natural way of the air coming in and the air going out. Soothing and reassuring. Calming and relaxing. And then see if for a little while you can just try to drop into stillness and peace. Allowing the past and the future to rest. Allowing the body to deeply relax. And allowing the mind to rest too. And then you can allow your breathing to get you in touch again with your body. Maybe you can feel the breath brushing past your face. Or you can feel it in your throat, in your chest, in your belly. You can feel the touch points, your feet resting on the ground, your bottom resting on the chair, your clothes touching your skin. The air in the room, on your face, on your neck, on your hands, maybe on your feet if you're not wearing socks. And then you can connect with the sound of the aircon or air purifier in this room. Slowly, slowly making your way back into your physical being, into your body. And then you can start to move your feet a little bit. Move your hands and arms a little bit. Roll your shoulders. Stretch your neck. And gently open your eyes again. Our singing bowl is in the locker, so we don't have it to finish the meditation tonight. Okay. Hopefully some nice energy for your body and for your mind tonight in the meditation. And I hope, as I was saying in the meditation, if we can take care of these things going forward, maybe a little bit more than we would otherwise, maybe giving them a bit more time, a bit more loving, tender care, they will be very grateful. And they'll give us lots of energy and happiness and inspiration in return. That will help us in the good parts of our lives and in the challenging parts of our lives. They'll give us more kind of resilience, more ability to bounce back and to not get too caught up and bogged down in things, hopefully. Right, do we have anything to ask or to share at this stage? Kind of shared a bouquet of many different things. I hope there was a little bit of something in there for you, or even if just, the meditation session, the care, the time we spent and we gave to our bodies and minds, hopefully have an effect that you can carry with you for the rest of this year, for the rest of tonight, for the rest of the week, I don't know. It does need to be replenished. As the body needs to rest and to sleep, the mind needs breaks as well. So we need to allow ourselves to grab those opportunities when they arise. And I'm very happy to see so many people here today, because it is still the holiday time where people often have a lot of other things on their minds. And thank you also for the group supporting each other, inspiring each other to carry on and to keep coming back. That's sometimes maybe the only little thing that you need. A little bit of motivation, a little bit of input to kind of like, okay, let's go to the class tonight and see what happens. Because usually during the class you don't have to do much work. I don't think I have to do that much work either. But it flows a bit better on some days and a bit less so on other days, but that's the nature of it. Okay.
Thank you, Bhante.
Yep.
Thank you.
All good.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good trip back home. And again, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.